Okay. All right. Welcome everyone to this lovely October the 15th board meeting of the Van Buren local school district. It's a great day outside. It's definitely fall weather, so I'm glad to be in here. So welcome to everyone. Just as a friendly reminder, and we will add it to the agenda because I keep forgetting, this meeting is being broadcast via Zoom as well as here in live. This meeting is being recorded, so anything you say will be on record and can be repeated. So please be aware of that. Thanks. Okay. If you would like to call the roll.
Mr. Griffith is absent. Ms. Thomas? Ms. Williams? Mr. Salisbury is absent. Mr. Lifite?
Here. All right. Moving along the agenda. Ms. Thomas, if you would like to lead us in the invocation and pledge.
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Moving on to the adjustments to the agenda, there were a few adjustments that we need to discuss and vote on that had to be made after it went out to the public. So, any questions or discussions about those items? It's looking at item number 8 in the superintendent's recommendation, item number 10 in the superintendent's recommendation, and for the board's consideration, we added number 2. Are there any other agenda adjustments that want to be made by anyone?
No.
I don't hear any. Are there any questions about those items? All right, we will probably talk about them at the time that they're there. I need a motion to approve the adjustments to the agenda. Melinda's first. I can second it. So the motion on the table is to approve the adjustments to the agenda as presented. Don, if you want to call the roll.
Ms. Thomas? Ms. Williams? Mr. Lifite?
Yes, motion carried. The adjustments are made. Next item on the agenda, hopefully everyone had a chance to look over the minutes that were well prepared from the September meeting. I just need a motion to approve. Kim is first. Linda's second. Any items to talk about, discuss? Hearing none, we are voting on approving the minutes as presented to the September 17th meeting. You want to call the roll?
Ms. Thomas? Yes. Ms. Williams? Yes. Mr. Lifite?
Yes, motion carries. We have approved the minutes. Next item is visitors' comments as before. Please, if you have any comments, let's either raise your hand or make some sort of motion to Ms. Schaefer, and she will let you in. I did have one request prior to this, so if Ms. Mason is on.
I am. Can you hear me?
And then if anyone else has anything, please, as mentioned, raise your hand or make some sort of comments so Mrs. Schaefer knows to let you in. So, Ms. Mason, I will give you the floor. You have about 5 minutes. So.
Okay. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I won't take 5 minutes. I'm talking on behalf of the Athletic Booster Group. As you all know, we've typically have the reverse raffle at an off-site location. Many years ago, it used to be held at the school. We are thinking forward to next year, and we are looking to see if we could get approval to have the school as an option as a venue. We do have a liquor license that we do purchase for the event. We also carry our own liability insurance for the event. And I think everything else is kind of self-explanatory of what goes with the reverse raffle. So just looking for that to be put out there for discussion and to let the booster group know if that would be an option for next year's reverse raffle.
All right. Well, thank you for all of the service that the boosters do. Obviously, we're not going to give you an answer right now, but what we will
Correct.
do is have a conversation with our legal counsel as well as review our policies. But we will definitely take that into consideration, and we will get you an answer sooner than later. I'm going to say initially we'll have something back to you before the next board meeting or at the next board meeting.
I think that's fair.
So
That will be the plan. I think that
will give you a significant time to kind of plan for next year, but we want to get it to you as soon as possible because I know there's a lot
of planning effort that gets.
Okay, I appreciate it very much.
All right.
All right, thank you.
Any other people wanting to talk? Okay, I'm not seeing anything. This is not giving me any signs, so I'm going to just continue to move on. Thank you. On to the informative reports and communications. Whoever wants to be let into the room first. So
Roulette it is. We have elementary, middle school, and high school, so.
Can you all hear me?
right, winner is Mr. Newcomer.
Looks that way.
Hello?
That's what's coming up.
Oh,
Hello?
That
Can you hear me now?
Now it's me.
Can you all hear me?
Barely, but yes, we will go with it.
Okay, is that better?
I think you're streaming and wherever you're at, and it's getting better for us, so we're okay. We'll just go with it.
All right. I don't have anything to add. Are there any questions?
Does anyone have any questions for him on his report? Just so the board is aware, the two questions I did ask, actually three, to Mr. Newcomer. One was about the third grade reading. So the current fourth grade class is exempt, and now we're restarting with the third grade, which I agree that doesn't necessarily make sense. The other thing, if anyone is concerned or cares,
It sounds like the fourth graders will not get reporters this year. There's objectives from all the people that have been through it. I'm excited. So,
Yeah.
those are the items I have. So, but I do appreciate everything that's going on in the elementary. At least my kids are very excited. All of the specials are going well, and from the standpoint of gym and music and art, and it is as seamless as possible.
my kids are excited for next week. So I wish everyone luck, and I please, Mr. Newcomer, pass along to everyone in the building. We appreciate everything that they're doing.
I will. Thank you.
All right. Next up, brought to you by Scrabble Go. Looks like Mr. Clark came off unmute, or came off mute. So, Mr. Clark?
Yep, I have nothing to add.
Okay. Any questions from his report? As a board, we don't have any further questions for you. We appreciate everything that you are doing as well as everyone in your building. And we also wish you the best with the upcoming increase in students potentially and the considerations and changes that you'll be evaluating as that goes. So please pass along to your staff. Thank you and for all their hard work. All right, Mr. Shaw, high school report.
Yeah, I have nothing to add to the report.
Any questions from the board? All right, no questions from us. We appreciate everything that you're doing, and please pass along to your staff as well. Thank you for all their hard work, and we wish them the best with everything that may be changing.
Will do. Thank you.
All right, moving on to BBEA highlights. Holmes is on, and then Mr. Binding was there, so I don't know if anyone has anything to say or add.
Yeah, I'll take it tonight, Mike. This is Mariah.
Okay.
We just want to say thank you for your support with the board and administration as we figure out this hybrid, modified hybrid. And we'll keep plugging forward with that.
All right. Any questions?
None from the board, please. We truly do appreciate all the hard work that you all are putting on and trying to make this as the best year as possible for them. And
Like I said, I think it's been going well, at least from my family's standpoint. So we appreciate the hard work that all the teachers are doing.
moving on to the Director of Teaching and Learning reports. Any questions? Okay, no questions from the board standpoint, so thank you for all your work. Please pass along to everyone in your department that their hard work is not unnoticed by everyone. So it's been going very smoothly, I believe. Cassie, or Mrs. Schaefer did pass along
to me my one question I had on her report that the teachers are utilizing her for Schoology and items like that. Am I not loud enough? What did I do? Okay. All right. It's the first time. All right. Moving on. See, I'm unmuted. Now I'm muted. Okay. All right. Moving on. Maintenance, transportation, and food service report.
Hey, Mike, this is John. I apologize to the board for not getting a report out to you, but I'm free and more than willing to answer any questions you might have.
All right. Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Kelly? All right. Hearing none.
I would like to report that
everything, and please pass along to everyone in your departments. We appreciate everything that they're doing for the kids in the school district this year.
Okay, I sure will. Thank you.
All right. Athletics.
Yeah, can you hear me, Mike?
Yes.
Yes.
Nothing right now in a report. Obviously, we're full go right now in fall. You'll get a report in November detailing student participation rates, gate sales, and update on financials. But we have yet to request money from the board, so we'll continue to do that.
All right. Any questions? Justin, one question for you. When will you have academics and eligibility? I know that the 9 weeks aren't up until, I think the first grades are like mid-November. So will you have anything like that available at the next board meeting, or would that be more than likely December? I don't want to press you when it comes to it.
No, we'll have to sit down. Mr. Schaup and Mr. Clark and I will have to sit down. The OHSAA has put out a statement that they are basically waiving the eligibility requirements right now due to inequities in education. So we are going to sit down soon to discuss how we're handling ineligibility, if you will, at Van Buren.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions? All right. Please pass along to you and as well as all the coaches. Thank you for all their hard work. Superintendent's report.
Only wanted to highlight a couple items. The first one is we have now had 2 meetings of the Superintendent Advisory Committee. They've been very productive. I appreciate the teachers that have been part of it as well as Mrs. Jacobs and our administrators really have come up with a good plan for our remote learning. And if we go ahead and move to our modified hybrid, what that Wednesday will look like, and also moving forward in the winter, if in fact students aren't able to make it to school due to whatever reasons, we have a pretty good plan moving forward for what that's going to look like based upon our community feedback with our surveys and also from our teachers, which has been very nice. And also our first levy informational meeting was last Tuesday, October the 6th. It was a small but mighty group, and there's been some follow-up with some of the members that the audience that was here, and everything seems to be going okay in that arena. So, and the other big one we'll talk about later is just that modified hybrid schedule. And that's pretty much the main highlights I wanted to have.
All right. Any questions? All right, hearing none from the board, thanks for everything that you're doing.
You're welcome.
Moving on to board committees, personnel. Kim, anything to update?
We are working on creating job descriptions.
Okay,
And we'll continue that work.
sounds good. Audit and finance?
Nothing new to add.
Okay, next meeting, I believe, is before the board meeting next month. Transportation and facilities? Okay. Athletics and extracurricular?
We are meeting tomorrow.
Okay. Policies, we will talk about at the first reading of the changes. So I will give you an update at that point in time. We did have that meeting. Student achievement and liaison. Okay. And then curriculum, Jim and I are still giving them a little bit of time with everything before we start asking questions. I think this change in the modified hybrid, depending on how that goes, will also put a little delay on us pushing anything. So I would anticipate we will try to meet with them probably at the beginning of next year. All right, ready to continue on? Okay, old business. I did not have any from the previous meeting. Did anyone else? Okay, new business. First item up is the treasurer's report. So we can either make a motion to talk about it, or you can just talk about it. Which way you want to do it?
Why don't you do the motion first?
Okay, looking for a motion to approve as it stands, items 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, unless someone wants to change it. Linda is the first,
And I will second.
Kim is the second. We are now open for discussion, so I will turn it over to Ms. Jacobs.
Yeah, I submitted a report for the close of September. We've had a lot going on in the finance office. There's a lot going on right now. We are actually working through the completion of the gap conversion. We almost have all of the data compiled and sent to them. There's a couple of straggling items. I thought I was going to be able to say tonight that we were complete, but we're almost complete. We're almost there. So that report is due actually, I believe they need to be finished by the end of November, so there'll be a lot of scurrying on their end after this meeting to get that completed. We have one more new grant fund, and it's a small rollover amount for the IDEA Restoration Fund. And that is a little bit that was left over from last year. I just want a quick reminder, the 2020 emergency levy renewal is on the ballot. We had our first informational meeting the beginning of October. The final informational meeting will be held on October 28th at 7 p.m. in the auditorium. I wanted to talk a little bit about the foundation RIP payment. So, you know, essentially we were handed an invoice at the end of 2020, and that was about $270,000.
End of school year 2020.
Yes, end of school year 2020. We were actually handed the invoice in mid-May, and they said you have until the end of June to pay it, which we did not. So I didn't have an extra $270,000 hanging around, so I contacted ODE, did everything I needed to do. Now, JB 86 is attached to a House bill. I believe it's 136. Don't quote me on 136, but they actually have now reduced the amount that they say that we owe the state to $163,000. So recently, I worked with ODE to return approximately $40,000. Now, the the elementary and secondary emergency school grant that's attached to COVID funding allowed me to take $40,000 of that money and transfer it to the state. So that's been done. Elena Sanders in the Office of Finance requested that we work with the ESC to change their direct payment from our foundation to be able to direct pay them. So as requested, Brian and I met with the ESC. And after some conversation, they were unwilling to work with us. So ODE, of course, was very disappointed in the outcome of that meeting. And they felt that our ESC should be more willing to work with us in our unique situation. So unfortunately, that is not the case. So things are kind of status quo. Over the remainder of the fiscal year, we will work to repay, I believe it's about $14,000 a month to offset that insufficient funds line item on our foundation. So just so you're up to date on kind of where we are with that, we've made some progress, but it's not done yet. So this is another one of those stay tuned kind of things. So I'll keep you updated as things change in that regard. I have a Board of Revision update. We have received final decisions on all but one of our BOR cases. So either through favorable decisions at the county level or through direct negotiations, the tax revenue is anticipated to be increased by about $227,000 annually. There was one case moving to BTR, so the Board of Tax Revision in Columbus. So I authorized them to move ahead with an appraiser because of the size of the amount. Because there was a recent sale on this property of over $25 million, and the current auditor value is at $7 million. And that's sizable enough for us to pay attention to what's happening with that sale. So ultimately, there's approximately $226,000 annually on the table, so I hated to just leave that there and walk away after the negative decision. Well, it wasn't even a negative decision, it was a refusal of making a decision. So they basically moved that forward. So I will keep you posted as that moves through. Some happy news, we did get the electronic fees updated and online and moving forward. So we updated that dashboard for our parents to allow them to pay school fees as well as load their lunch accounts all from the same screen. So when it was coming down to the end, we weren't sure if it was all, we were going to be able to pull it all off at the end, but it after a little bit of confusion, I think we have, everything has settled down, and I think it's working out really well. So I'm really thrilled. And I have to give a shout out to all of our IT folks that worked with the Pay Schools folks and our food service people that were helping us learn how to use the system. And we've actually, I'm thrilled with how it's turned out. So hopefully it's a great benefit for our parents. I think the convenience factor, they don't have to stop in or send a check and hope that it makes it here with their students. So I think it's definitely a step forward. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the results here for September. I mean, for the first quarter, I think we're absolutely fabulous. You can see that I did do an update of the enrollment. I worked with Jenny and Enos and some of our Dazzle folks, and I think I finally got the number that we've been looking for, which was total enrollment. So we do have a bit of a reduction this year, and we're still figuring out what exactly is causing that number to dip. It's about 100 students. So as we move through the year, with the pandemic, I think we're just at this point kind of allowing this dip right now just to see where we're going to be going with that. And this is the updated grants and federal programs for this year. We have a sizable list this year over what we had last year. Now, the one item that I do want to make note of, comparing September to September of last year, our incoming revenue over September of last year is up about 11%, which I'm absolutely thrilled about. And of course, we're seeing the increase actually in the real estate taxes. And then we've also been able to reduce our expenses at this point by about 12%. So I'm absolutely thrilled with with the results at this point. So I'm cautiously optimistic. So as we move forward, I'm keeping an eye on some of the timing of some of the payments and hoping that perhaps it isn't just an anomaly based on timing. So as we get to, I'm kind of pushing at this point to get to the close of December, because at mid-year, I'll have a better idea of where we're sitting. So does anybody have any questions on that portion of the report? They said that they felt that we should continue to pay our deficit to the state because they felt that they had no guarantee that at some point we would stop paying them. And then he fell back on contract language and said, we have a contract. Am I leaving anything out?
No.
Okay. We were disappointed in the outcome.
So I just want to make sure I understand. So our contract with them is getting paid kind of by a middleman. We pay the state for the contract that we have with them for the certain amount of payment.
Yeah, so what happens is that twice a month we get paid, and so the base foundation comes in, and then they take off a number of things right off at the top. So what happens is the ESC bill is large enough because of the services that we provide our students that it causes us to have a negative cash flow. If we were to take that bill alone off of the foundation payment system, we would have a small positive cash flow for the month. But unfortunately, we're unable to do that.
No matter what, we have a contract with them to pay X amount of dollars, and where that dollars come from, it doesn't matter. If they don't get paid, it's still going to fall back on us. So if the state, for some reason, wouldn't pay them, it would fall back on us.
Well, the thing is that cash flow is not the issue.
It's, yeah.
It was kind of being a good neighbor.
Yep. Nope. I get it.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, so item 2, we have final invoices for some fiscal year 20 ESC aid contracts. This was a final payment. It looks like we had a PO in place at one point, but during the close of the fiscal year that it was deleted instead of thinking that everything had been paid. So this isn't actually a then and now, but we actually did have the PO in place, so it was just deleted by accident. So we're taking care of that. We have several inactive funds that we're requesting to transfer to the high school 018 account. So all of these funds were old class funds, old senior class funds. So the last 2 numbers in the account number there, like the 9215, 7, 18, 19, and 20, those are the actual class years. So the auditors started to ask me about these old inactive funds and suggested that perhaps we move it into a fund where they would be readily available to be used in the building for support of the building or technology or in another way that would support students. So I'm asking that these funds be transferred to the 018 account for the high school. The next is,
Can I ask a question on that before we move on?
okay.
It's nothing bad by any means, but is this something that we should think about doing? Is this your plan moving forward? So for the 2021 senior class, whatever money is left, is that your, so will this be an item that we'll have to do every time? Or is there okay. Nope. I was just seeing if there was something that we could write somewhere where this is a one-time, we're voting on it because it makes complete sense, but we can do it each and every year. Not a problem. Thanks.
The next is the establishment of the new grant fund that I talked about in my finance report. And item 5 is just housekeeping. I think we only have maybe 2 or 3 of the budget and purpose clause left for you to approve. This actually allows a estimated revenue and budget set up for each one of these funds for student activity accounts. The last one is we use these 022 accounts for tournaments. And so before I arrived, it looks like there was a couple of tournaments where the money that did not have to go back to OHSAA was inadvertently not transferred to the 300 account for athletics. So I'm asking that these leftover tournament accounts, because all of the books have been settled for those accounts with OHSAA and at the state level, that we move these funds over into the athletic fund. And that's all I have.
Okay. Thank you for the explanations. Any questions, further questions? All right, so we are voting to approve the treasurer's items 1 through 6. If you'd like to call the roll.
Ms. Thomas? Yes. Ms. Williams? Yes. Mr. Lifehine?
Yes, motion carries. Moving on. Superintendent's recommendations.
As you see, the majority of the section is employing our coaches for the winter season coming up. Also, just wanted to highlight that Mr. Clark has found his 7th grade and 6th grade long-term substitutes in there. We also have a couple retirements there, and I wanted just to make sure that Mrs. Greer and Mrs. Sattler appreciate all their years of service and wish them well as they move on. And really, the other main one was for our VOAG, Mrs. Beeman, just that she is going to also, approve her contract for programming for the 2021 school year through grants. And other than that, I think those were the big ticket items this month.
All right, any questions?
Sorry, I forgot to ask you about the contract for winter sports, if the seasons are short, is the language in there?
Yes. Yes.
All right, well, from a board standpoint, we also want to echo what Mr. Bloom said about retirements, just their long services that they've had with the school, and appreciate all the hard work that Mrs. Greer and Mrs. Sattler have done for the district. So, all right, looking for a motion to approve those items. Kim makes a motion to approve items 1 through 10 of the superintendent's recommendation.
Yes.
Okay. Second, I can do that. Any further discussion? Hearing none, if you'd like to call the roll.
Ms. Thomas?
Yes.
Ms. Williams? Yes. Mr. Lifehine?
Yes, motion carries. Items 1 through 10 are approved. Moving on to for the board's discussion, the first item that we have is the first reading of the following policies We will get the information to you all so you can actually get board access if you weren't able to see them. The one thing that I will tell you about all of these, they were all legally required to make the changes to. So when you see them, just know that that is language that is required from either the state or national level per the recommendations of our advisor. So, but we will get that information sent out to everyone on getting access to the board docs non-public side where the drafts are housed. Okay. Moving on for board's discussion. Item number 2, which is to discuss the modified hybrid schedule. Where to start? I will turn it over to our superintendent for opening comments and education for both us and the public.
Okay. Thank you very much. And really, as it's been discussed with the community, that's been communicated with our parents and our staff. And most importantly, I want to emphasize in conjunction with the Board of Health, regardless of what people might have read in that article that came out Wednesday, Van Buren has been 100% communicating our modified hybrid schedule with the Board of Health. This has been going on for 2 to 3 weeks. This was not politically driven at all. There was nothing to do with that in any way, shape, or form. The reason for this discussion with many of the superintendents in this county and with the Board of Health's help was that our numbers remain extremely low with staff and students within our buildings. We were trying to find a way that the Board of Health would be supportive of us moving forward and bringing students back more. The recommendation from the Board of Health was not to return 5 days a week. So many of us came up with what was called a modified hybrid schedule. Those would look different from district to district that are doing that. Ours in particular would have students here Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, with Wednesday as a remote learning day. That Wednesday would also be for another round of deep cleaning. And all of that was at the suggestion of the Board of Health. And also, we will continue with a shortened school day. So all of those items were shared, discussed, and supported moving forward, especially the part of the 6-foot social distancing, which we are continuing to work on. We are getting closer. I have been open and honest with the communication with our health department of how close we are. And to this point, with everything going on and our use of alternative spaces, and if you are sitting here looking out, this is going to be a classroom where we're at right now. We're going to be using the old gym, which is the weight room. We are getting very creative with using any and all spaces to get that 6-foot social distancing to the best of our ability. And at this point, do have the support of our Board of Health moving forward with our modified hybrid plan. And I just want to emphasize again, it had nothing to do with pressure. It had nothing to do with politics. It had everything to do with our practices and procedures and policies that we've implemented with the Board of Health, with all of our staff, has been extremely effective. And I want to thank everyone for making us even be able to have this discussion about bringing kids back, because without everyone's help, and I will give a special shout out to our bus drivers who take a temperature of every child as they leave the bus every day. And that has been extremely helpful. And our nurse also has been extremely helpful, because when there's kiddos that might have a temperature, they are referred directly to her, and we deal with the situation immediately. So all of these things have allowed us to try to get kids back for their own benefit, both social and emotional, academic-wise. And that is the reason behind this, and nothing more. Is just that we want to get the kids back to school more. And that's where I'll start.
All right, to piggyback onto that, depending on what motion we make, I would like to enter into, for the record, Exhibit A, which is a email to to our public email account so everyone can see it from the director of the health department at the health commissioner for Hancock County. And I will bore everyone by reading it so those people that are on Zoom can hear it. But good morning, Brian. Per our discussion on bringing students for in-person teaching days and our capability to extend some of the classrooms while maintaining effective masking, distancing, and disinfecting common areas. On our weekly meetings, and again today, I reiterate that our recommendations for only 2 days of in-person learning was to help alleviate the burden caused by the 6-foot social distancing requirements needed to protect the student population from the spread of the virus. Explained how this will affect the spread of the virus in our community. Now, for the smaller districts who can get close to proper distancing or can make modifications to achieve the required 6 feet distance, adding more days to their hybrid schedule is acceptable. Please convey to your board that at this point and until CDC recommendations change, masking and other measures will not substitute for social distancing. And then our recommendations to go hybrid was to cut the capacity in half to allow social distancing so schools will have minimal interruptions. And it seems like this is working from the health and safety standpoint as measured by minimal infections uncovered in classroom settings, athletics aside. I perfectly understand that not being in school full time might be affecting kids academically, socially, emotionally, and mentally, to which I am not an expert to advise in this respect. You and your board are more than capable of striking the right balance given the circumstances. Public Health will support your board's decision in adding more in-person days to the hybrid model as long as we are being creative and using the space you have district-wide and some other remote options for some families to achieve distance as discussed. I recommend doing this in phases if possible by adding more days to lower classes, younger kids first, since the recent studies showed that kids 10 and younger are less likely to spread the virus in the community given that they are less mobile than the 10 or older age group. Having the 2 weeks or so as a buffer, we'll have an idea of what is going on full time for all will look like and a chance to make adjustments to your plan. As far as considering a 2-day hybrid when the county moved to red risk level, we might have to change our original recommendations depending on what indicators were triggered to put us in red. If the community spread is under control, but we are red because of other factors that is not connected to or will not affect the student population, would be a good consideration for that. We will closely monitor all indicators as soon as we are presented with such conditions, and we will reevaluate our recommendations accordingly. So this is what they sent to the board members as well as to the superintendent. I feel that this is a good recommendation since we are trying to do everything we can for the 6 foot. It does bring up the question that I have for this modified hybrid is if we go to red, what is your plan? And looking at this, it sounds like, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, if we are in red but is not deemed school related, we would do what?
We would be in our current situation that we're in. Our current hybrid would be allowed to operate under.
So everyone listening, if it's not school related and we are in red, this modified plan that we are discussing would be 2 to 3 days a week, depending on if you're group A or B.
Correct.
And we would continue kind of what we're seeing now. And crazy as it might be, if we go yellow, we're back to 5 days.
That would be the plan.
All right, I'm just trying to be optimistic, everyone. All right. So that is the recommendation that we are discussing. Any further? Go right ahead.
Are we going to do the phasing in the 2-week phasing as they're suggesting? Because I had heard that it's next August.
When we initially sent out the information to the parents, I believe it will have been 2 weeks from the first notification, or maybe within a day.
So we're doing the young kids.
Oh, you mean with the elementary phasing in? No, we did not do that.
I feel this was the first that we were, okay, I'm going to stop. This is the first time I was made aware of the recommendation of the 2 weeks. And I think financially, from a standpoint of how our district is run from food service and item like that, doing the phase in might not be in the best planning standpoint.
And that was part of it, but also in communication with the Board of Health, with our plan specifically. That was one of his suggestions, but they were also okay with us moving to this modified hybrid without doing that. It was a suggestion, but we decided with our modified hybrid to vary that part and move to bringing everybody back on a shortened school day, 4 days a week with a Wednesday as a deep cleaning day. And there was not any pushback with that discussion during those times that we were talking.
And the reason for not being able to do the 2-week phase is why?
We just thought it would be easier and less confusing just to bring everyone back because you had multiple families that have kids in multiple buildings. We thought that would be less confusing and an easier transition to move into the modified hybrid.
The question I have is, are we still offering every family the ability to go into VLA if they would not want to come back on the modified hybrid that we have now proposed?
Yes.
So if you are somebody who does not feel comfortable bringing your children back, you do have the option to join
Correct.
VLA.
That is still there.
So any other questions?
Like, I know it's out of realm, but is there anybody who has questions from online? I mean, I'm open to.
So Kim has asked if there's any questions from the lovely listeners that we can maybe help answer before we put this to a possible motion. So if you have any questions, please raise hands or make a statement in the chat accordingly. I'm not seeing anything, but so we're good. Okay. So I will make a motion to approve the modified hybrid schedule as presented with Exhibit A. I have Melinda as a second. Any further discussion, comments on that motion? Hearing none.
I do want to make sure that, I know the people listening probably are the people who participated, but I do think it's important that the school has really tried hard to communicate with all the key stakeholders and has spent a lot of time hearing from parents and working with the health department to really empower people to make their own choice for their own family. And so, again, I know we get a lot of feedback that we don't communicate well with stakeholders, but I would like this to be noted as something we've tried really hard to hear what people want to have happen for their kids' education. And then my last plea to remember social distancing, hand washing, mask wearing, all are very, very important if we want to stay in a hybrid schedule or potentially go yellow. We're going to keep that same locked in. It is one of those things that it's kind of within our control at the moment. So that would be what I would have to say, Mike.
All right. I would echo that, especially as we're moving into colder weather. And I feel the school does a really good job of mask, hand washing, reminding those things. So it's just when those items carry home, just kind of keep that in mind as well too. So, all right. If you would like to call the roll.
Ms. Thomas?
Yes.
Ms. Williams? Mr. Wi-Fi?
Yes, motion carries to approve the modified hybrid schedule as presented. All right. Yes. Okay. So the question that was put was ever go back to a full day. That was not in the yellow at this stage to go back to a full day, it was always going to be the same timings. So I think that is probably school district or the year length, or when we consider a change.
We would consider a change, and I see Mr. Schaub is still on, so he can jump on and correct me if what we're talking about is not true, but we have already started discussing what that would look like to bring the high schoolers back a little more, if in fact we do go back 5 days a week. And that discussion has started about what that might look like. And this was our first step, but we didn't want to violate some of the expectations with the health department. We wanted to keep that shortened day. But moving forward, if we do go back 5 days a week, the expectation is we are going to have our high school students back more. I'm not sure we can get that. Will be, I don't know when it'll be a full day, but it'll be a longer day than it is currently.
Okay. All right.
I must have been right because Mr. Schaub has not chimed in, so it must be close.
Can I speak to that?
Absolutely.
So I do know part of the reason that we keep in mind why that was done was because the high school shares staff with the middle school. So in order for those middle school students to still get elective courses, we had to have the schedule that way. Also, with the way that courses are a semester, it would be very difficult to then make that jump when the first semester classes were going until 12:45. So we have put in a lot of thought and discussion on that piece, and it is still being discussed with possibilities, but there's more moving parts to it than just the high school and the high school staff.
All right, thank you for the answer. So I think it's being considered and still more to come depending on the situation.
That's a fair statement.
Hopefully that helped answer the question. Anything else? Question mark? Okay. All right, moving on. Executive session. So we do have an executive session to discuss the employment and compensation of public employees per the Ohio Revised Code 121.22G1. So do I have a motion to go
I'll make a motion.
Kim? I can second. No real items to discuss. Any questions about it? All right, hearing none, if you want to call a roll.
Yes.
Ms. Williams? Mr. Lightfoot?
Yes, so we're into executive session at 7:54. To my knowledge, we will have no items to vote on coming out of executive session other than adjournment. So take that as everyone wants on Zoom, but we will be leaving this setting and we will be back. Thank you. Okay, so we are out of executive session at 8:25.
Yes.
Great. I have a motion to adjourn.
I make motion. Second.
Second by Melinda, first by Kim. Any discussion? Probably not. You want to call the roll on adjourning the meeting?
Yes.
Yes. Motion carried. We are adjourned. Thanks everyone for being here, and we look forward to everyone in next month. Please, please, please do not forget to do your civil duty of voting. Thank you. And